Vaibhav. In today's session of Visual JForex, we will be continuing our work using the indicator named Ehlers Laguerre RSI, Ehlers Laguerre Relative Strength Index. This is the second part, and in today's session, the focus is going to be on completing the setup, at least for the buy side. We will see how we can go about placing the order for the buy trade when we feel that as per the LRSI, the situation, the conditions are favorable enough and the probability is high enough to place the order. So I will take you to the Visual JForex board, which has been developed by the Dukascopy Bank SA. The setup so far includes these instrument subscription, where the instrument of choice is Euro USD. Afterwards, the position amount was defined at 0. Then these LRSI blocks have been added. First two are of 4 hourly candle period, and then these three are of 15 minutes each with varying look back period. First is 1, another 4, and this one is of 7. To look at the price action, to determine the volatility, we are also relying on the cluster of last 4 candles of 15 minutes each, and for that these get historical candle and candles. It is the difference here is just simple single S, so that is it, but you have to pay attention, and we have to then use it differently. And these three blocks get historical candle with first one being of 15 minutes, and these two are for simply placing the order, pinpointing the exact entry point. These two are of 10 seconds each with varying look back period 1 and 2. Now I will give you a brief refresher of the logic behind the algorithm using this LRSI, Ehlers Laguerre Relative Strength Index. We will be checking for the trend on the 4 hourly candle period, and for buy trade we will need this LRSI value to be above 50. It might be rising, it might be declining, it doesn't matter. The only thing is the output value for last 4 hourly candle block should be above 50. And one more thing is, we don't really want to get involved for the trade after the overbought territory has been reached, and to avoid that kind of situation we can take the output value for the penultimate 4 hourly candle, and there we will place the condition that its output should be below 80. So that will make sure that after having reached the overbought territory, whenever the underlying instrument starts to correct, if not decline, we will not be placing the order. At least it has till it has come down some distance and might be finding support on the lower side. That might be the appropriate time to go for the fresh entry, and that's when with these 15-minute candle period comes into play. On the 15-minute candle period, we will need the last 15-minute candles LRSI output to be about 20, and we are then going to check the LRSI output value 4 candle period back. So for that we are going to use the LRSI indicator block with the shift value of 4, and one more block will be needed and it will have the shift value of 7. So we will consider the values of the LRSI over last 1.5 hour, and in prior to candle blocks, in prior to LRSI blocks, the output should be fixed at 0. It should be not above 0, and that means that underlying instrument has gone in a strong correction and it has spent some time into the correction zone, and now that we are seeing its LRSI output again rising above 20, it is indicative of the sort of resumption of the underlying trend, the original 4 hourly trend, and that is when we want to get involved, and that's why we are relying on this combination. And we will be placing the order as a limit order, so it will be placed below the current price, and for that we will consider the price action over last hour. So for that we will be considering the cluster of 4 candles of 15 minutes each. We will see its highest and the lowest value, and simply we will take the half of the difference of the highest and the lowest point, and we will deduct it from the last tick price, and that will be our point of entry, which will be valid for at least 1 hour. You can go for a different validity also. If you want to go for a order validity say of 2 hours, all you have to do is take one more variable and multiply. And I will, of course, in course of this session itself, I will be explaining how we can define this order validity. So now we head back to the Visual JForex board, and first order of business is going to be figuring out the exact difference between the high and the low of these four candles of 15 minutes each. And to do that, all we need is this calculation expression block, and we will take the FHL, which is the output for this array of data, high and low. Okay, users variable FHL is here. We want FHL candle high and deduct FHL candle low from it. So it is going to be A1 minus A2. Okay, A1 minus A2, and we will name it as the CD. Okay, we will take one more for the time being, but we are of course we will be needing a lot more of these, and we will simply multiply this output with a new variable which will have the value of 0.5. This is going to be A1 into A2. This is going to be named OD. Okay, and at the same time, let us also define the entry point, which is simply going to be the calculation where I will have to deduct this OD from last tick bid. You can deduct it from tick bid or tick ask. It won't make much difference, but of course spread is going to be there. So it is going to be A1 minus A2. And this is going to be our buy entry price. Okay, which will come handy when we take the trade command block. Now we will have to start defining the conditions for the execution of the trade using the if blocks. I'm not really sure how many of these will be needed. I think at least 6, 7 I will add straight away. Okay, one multiple action is also going to be needed. I will join it to this block. So this will be our first if block. And first thing we will do is to check the last 4 hours LRSI output, and that output needs to be above 50. So first input greater than second input. And the penultimate made 4 hourly candles output needs to be below 80. In this case, first input less than second input. Alright. Now looking at the 15-minute candles of the LRSI, we want the line 18, which represents the output for this first block with the loopback period of 1. It should be about 20. First input greater than second input. Line 19 and line 20 should be at 0. As I had explained to you, the condition for the LRSI outputs with loopback period of 4 and 7, those two values needs to be equal to 0. First input equals second input. Again, same thing. First input equals second input. Okay. And with this, we are mostly ready to go for the order. And for that, all we have to check is to make sure last 15-minute candle has closed higher. And for that, we will consider the output value for candle 22. Candle 22's close needs to be higher than candle 22's open. First input greater than second input. Okay. I think we have used up most of these if blocks. Now, if needed, we will have to add new. First input greater than second input. So we have mostly defined this condition using the LRSI. Now I think we are ready to go for the final pinpointing of the entry point, and that is going to be the last 15-minute candle close. And whenever the price starts to rise above the last 15-minute candle close, we want to be placing the order. So all we have to do is take candle 22's close and compare it with candle 23rd and candle 24th closing value. So I am going to add candle 22's close. Here it is. I will use this as a second input, so it will be easier to understand. Okay, and candle 23 and candle 24. The candle 23, 23rd has a look back period of 1, so that means it should close higher, whereas candle 24, which has a look back period of 2, it should have closed lower. All right. this first input less than second input. After that, first input greater than second input. And if we take create command block, open at market. No, we are not going to use open at market. We are going to use pending open. First input greater than second input. Alright. The entry point we have already defined, so that is going to be used here. It is going to be a limit order. So by limit, and stop loss and take profit and order validity will need to be defined. Default instrument will remain as it is. Trade amount I will change to 0.1 million. Slippage is going to be 2 pips. Stop loss, we will go with a combination of 10 pips and 20 pips. So we will get the risk reward ratio of 1:2. Now comes the order validity. For that we will have to define a new equation, and prior to that let me arrange this if all the if blocks. Now coming back to the order validity. For that we are going to need one more calculation expression block. Order validity we will keep for 1 hour. So I will have to create new variable which will have 3.6 million ticks as its start value. Et, and it is going to have the value of 3.6 million. So we have to count the zeros carefully. I hope I am right. And before adding this variable I will take tick time and then add 3.6 million ticks to it. So it is going to be A1 plus A2, and result of the calculation we have to pay attention to the data type. If we define here, it is going to be of double data type, and we don't want it to be of double, it should be long. So I will define the variable here. Okay, and assign it to this output. So as its output value is derived from this calculation. Okay, I hope you have been able to understand why this has been done. And with this, now we are free to take this block where it belongs. Setup is fairly easy to understand. Not much complexity is there. We are simply relying on the LRSI output values and a couple of calculations to get the job done. So that's it from my side for today's session of Visual JForex. If any of you have any query or any idea to share, you can write to me in the feedback section and I would be more than happy to take the discussion forward. Do come back for the next session where we will be defining the sell side of this algorithm, and after that the whole algorithmic setup will be complete, which can be then tested on the historical data on JForex platform to see whether it is profitable or not. Thank you all for joining in. See you next time. Till then, goodbye.